it was some sort of sensation, basically, that feeling, that idea that my body was just like, like a speed bag, like something that boxers use to punch, a punch bag.
Yeah.
And that was that's the only illustration, that's the only way I can qualify this feeling, this sensation that my body can be used by someone else for, just letting it out. And and when we did this exercise, because basically eye movement, like you were asking me to follow your finger from left to right. So how did this exercise helped into processing this, what happened, into a memory? Because I remember before we did it, like the memory came back, right? And you had asked me to write down some bullet points about what happened, how old was I, what I felt, And I remember before meeting up with you, I was with my mom on the phone and I was stuttering. It was hard for me to talk, like I was literally stuttering, Before you and I, we process a trauma. Usually I go into those moments where I start stuttering in front of people. It's really, really strange, man. And so I was on the phone with my mom. I spoke about that and I started stuttering. I couldn't even finish my sentences. And then we had that session where you and I addressed it. And then it became a memory. And now I can talk about it without stuttering. So when you do the eye movement, etc., so what happens inside me?
Okay. So the one of the taglines in EMDR is that the past is present. And what we mean by that is that when a traumatic experience in the past has happened, but that young child was not able to sufficiently or adequately reprocess that experience, that memory gets frozen in time in the emotional brain. We call that it's maladaptively stored, still in the emotional brain, and it hasn't been processed and shifted to the growing adult brain that's in the prefrontal cortex area. And so, and so when you find yourself sort of accessing a past unprocessed memory, and you might be feeling triggered, right? And maybe that's why the stuttering was starting to come about, because then the past young child sort of is being called out and activated. And so it's showing up in the present. And so the past is present.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why we want to gently be able to connect with that wounded child and utilizing the principle of bilateral stimulation. And bilateral stimulation really is just facilitating the two hemispheres of the brain. The brain has a right and a left hemisphere to kind of start firing together, because that's just part of how we're created. We do things bilaterally in life. We walk, we run, we play instruments, we do sports and all that, right? So it's really just built into how we're built. And so in EMDR, believing and trusting in that natural, organic, human processing, adaptive processing system, we want to, when we connect with the wounded child, gently facilitate sets of bilateral stimulation. And it can be either, encouraging left and right eye movements, or even tactile, tapping left and right. Because the idea is that wounded child is a bit frozen in that experience, in that memory. And we want to access that child and gently urge that child to know that danger is now over, right? And that you are safe now. And all the negative or irrational beliefs about self that the younger child picked up because of such bad treatment, we want to also gently adjust and tweak. So if your 4-year-old, because of these repeated bad treatment, had formed a belief, I am, I'm a trash bin for people, right? It's understandable why that child would believe that. And if no adult corrected it, then that's what the child's going to grow up believing. And so we want to connect with emotions that are still stuck in, the limbic region, and encourage natural processing and release. And we also want to try to catch the irrational beliefs about self that were formed, and then, also have this be naturally, adaptively tweaked and adjusted. So the function of eye movements or bilateral stimulation is to tap into a natural, organic way that our brain operates and functions. And so this is why bilateral stimulation, guided bilateral stimulation, is such an integral part of EMDR therapy.
Thank you. One thing that really hit me in these sessions was